Hey everybody, Anthony here, and this week we're thrilled to have Play to Z Games as a sponsor of this episode and to share with you their new game, Ascending Empires Zenith Edition. Ascending Empires is a 4X game that plays in just under 2 hours. You flick your ships across the galaxy, discover and explore new planets, build outposts, cities, research facilities, even starbases. All while your ships and troops compete to complete missions and claim alien relics that will establish your dominance over your opponents. With plenty of extra modules to switch up the experience, from new alien races with unique powers to immense, game-changing megastructures, and even good old-fashioned robot uprisings, Ascending Empire's new Zenith Edition is a unique galaxy-building experience. Use the code POD on their website, playtozgames.com, to receive 15% off your order. That's code POD on playtozgames.com.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast where everyone is welcome at the table, but of course, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, this is Anthony.
And this is episode 517, BGA Fantasy Board Game Draft, month number 2. We like to thank all our Patreons for helping us unlock a brand new episode. Hello, friends. We're back, and it is that time. Month 2 of the BGA Fantasy Board Game Draft. Anthony, it's starting to heat up a little bit.
It is starting to heat up a little bit. We've got a good number of people who got points this month, more than last month, and we're going to break it down. These are the games that they're coming up. People are excited about them. They're talking about them. They're hitting Kickstarter. They're shipping. Whatever's happening. So we got a few to talk about. We're also going to talk about other games that are on the hotness. Just to kind of give a general lay of the land.
There's a lot of hotness happening.
There is a lot of hotness happening. A lot of new game announcements lately, which we're going to talk about both in our roll for preview and in our feature. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, Gamma Expo wrapped up, as well as Awakened Realms just dropped a whole bunch of stuff on GameFound. So.
Yeah, lots of previews for February, which is weird.
Well, February is the board gaming month.
I guess. I'm used to this time of the year being like super dead and being like, there's nothing to talk about. But like, no, there's a lot of new stuff to talk about.
To be fair, it's February, it's my birthday, and I expected all these games to be delivered directly to me, but sadly, they were just previews.
Yeah, come on, guys.
Come on, it's my birthday. Come on. Yeah. Send the games. That's all I'm saying.
Book up.
I know. I mean, come on, they're already going to send Star Trek, Ascendancy with all the 20,000 races and
all $972 worth, whatever the heck it is.
Plus shipping.
Oh, man.
Fun. So that is going to be our feature where we talk about how great everyone's doing in that draft, as along with all the fun hotness that's happening. But Anthony, before we get into that, BGA is doing a thing that's upcoming.
Yeah, folks. So we are going to be at, for the 3rd year running, we're going to be at Long Island Tabletop Gaming Expo.
2025.
Yes, that's the difference.
It's a next year.
We're
a special guest for a 3rd year in a row.
It's awesome. It's the Cradle of Aviation in Long Island, which is a very, very cool place to have a board game convention. We say this every year, but if you're in that area, you should go. It's cool.
And we're there for a 3rd year in a row.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten kicked out yet.
Somehow. Yeah, so Chris, all three of us, Chris, Will, and I, will be there. And Will and I are going to be presenting on Saturday night at 7:00 in the big, cool IMAX theater. We're going to be presenting on Jedi, Justice,
Ooh.
Equity, Diversity, Inclusion, and Gaming.
Oh, this is your year we get kicked out then.
Yeah, we're doing it. Let's go for it. They're going to be like, it said Jedi. I'm like, yeah, it's an acronym for that. They're like, get out.
Get out. Well, we had a good career while it lasted.
Oh man, yeah. No, this is something Will has presented on before. Him and I wrote a paper on it actually, so we're going to be presenting some of that, some of what we wrote up. So it'll be fun. And if you haven't been to the show in the past, it is a very, very cool venue for events. Like,
yes,
there's a big stage. They record it. You could see the videos actually on our website. If you go check out boardgameacademics.com, we have the videos from the last 2 years up. And it's just a really cool, relaxing space because it's the IMAX theater of a science center. So, which is a cool place to speak.
Yeah, it's a great event. Long Island does an excellent job. You can check it out at litabletop.com. Our event is in their event scheduling calendar, but there's a lot of activities. There's board games, there's miniatures, there's card games, there's a whole bunch of live activities and programs. Our good friend Game Master Dave is going to be running the games. Our good friends Chris and Aaron from Board Games from the Better are going to be running the library and their charity events. And as Anthony said, if for no other reason, it's got like really cool airplanes and space and the history of all that kind of stuff. And it's just a pretty cool location. So if you're in the area, Cradle of Aviation, Garden City, New York, April 5th to April 6th, we will be there presenting. I think this is the 5th, right? April 5th.
Yep. Yeah. Saturday night, 7:00.
7:00. We'll hope to see you there. Join us for the fun. All right, Anthony. So beyond that, there's the thing we do after hours that we wanted to let people know about, because clearly between the presentation that we're doing at Long Island Tabletop, where we're going to get ourselves canceled, and or the after hours programming, it seems like there's a lot of controversy happening these days from BGA.
Oh yeah, we're guys don't even know.
They know if they're Patreon backers.
If you're a backer, you know, but the rest of y'all, you're missing out. Yeah, it's our bonus podcast. We record it and we put it up the day after this podcast. So every Thursday on Patreon, anybody who backs at the producer level or higher gets the bonus episode in which we talk about all the other things.
The other things.
Yeah. So what else is going on in the world, in our lives, in our media diets, in our, just what are we enjoying or experiencing or not enjoying as we experience?
It's fun. It's controversial. It's a lot of different topics. It's a stream of consciousness. And again, we always take your suggestions. So if there's something you want us to ramble about or rant about, we are going to do it. So beyond the academics, sometimes it gets a little dark, and sometimes it happens after dark, Anthony.
After hours.
There you go. See? But beyond that, we have all of you to thank for listening and for supporting us each and every week. And Anthony, we have something new. We have a review out there for the State of BGA.
Yeah, you all are doing a great job. Like, keep them coming. Keep the reviews coming.
Thank you so much. Yay!
We love reading these. It helps more people find the podcast, which is awesome. And then it gives me something to put in this slot on the episode.
There you go.
So JC over on Spotify left a comment on the most recent episode. Said, best board game podcast there is. Listen to this every week. Thank you, JC.
Very nice. Thank you so much.
It's awesome. So we appreciate it. We don't necessarily need you to give us a pat on the back, but when you do, it feels good. we appreciate y'all.
I'm going to double check that. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yes. It's just good to know who's out there, who's listening, what you like about it. And hey, every now and then we get to read a cool haiku.
I love them. It's great. Thank you so much, everybody, for rating and review. It gets more board gaming content to more people out there, so that when you're out there in the world and people are actually playing gaming out there on the table, it's probably because you spread the word. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, that's everything that's going on with us and our friends out there. Let's start off with Rolling for Preview. So, Anthony, this week, we saw a bunch of things drop all over the place. We'll talk about some of the hotness in a minute, but we wanted to talk about some of the stuff that dropped, oddly enough, on GameFound from our friends at Awaken Realms. Now, don't get scared, because there's a double scare in this conversation we're going to have, Anthony. First off, a scare for you. There's a new edition, in fact, a special edition of Agricola.
Ah!
I told you not to be scared.
Yeah, no, it's no good. We're gonna do listen. I don't know if I'm glad or not that they're doing this. I like my copy of Castles Burgundy Special Edition. It's cool.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, we had a lot of problems with, unrelated to the quality of the game. This is, I'm on record. Okay, we don't need to go down that road. Agricola, not my favorite game.
Well, let's just say it's a classic. I think you could agree with that.
I do agree with that, yeah.
It's Uwe Rosenberg, right? You agree with that?
I do, and he's awesome.
Yeah. And it's an iconic game in the industry and in his ludology.
It is the game. I was at a game night the other night, and somebody was talking about Euro games, and this is the game that came up, and everybody's like, what's that? And it's like, this is the game. And I'm like,
the game.
It is the game. I don't like it, but it's the game.
Yeah, it's the game. And if you know anything about Uwe Rosenberg, he has a tremendous ludology, a lot of games out there.
Yeah.
And certainly the vast majority have sprung out of Agricola.
Yeah.
And we've just talked about Black Forest a couple of weeks ago, which is another farming game, which is somewhat in the same line, a variation and evolution and de-evolution, depending on who you talk to. But Agricola was the one that started it all. It was misery farming. It was farming back in the day where you had to produce enough food to support your family, because if you didn't, you took a lot of negative points.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like that, Anthony.
I don't. I want to feel like I've done something after 3 hours, not like, hey, what'd you do? I'm like, I got 6 points.
Well, I will say one of the weird, again, initially when I got into tabletop gaming, I wanted no part of the farming Euro genre. I was like, hey, sci-fi, and we got fantasy. Why would I want to play a game about farming? Like there's nothing at all that I want to be involved with as far as this is concerned. But turns out, Anthony, that in fact you can have a lot of fun in engaging in that kind of like super tightness, razor's edge of, will I be able to produce enough of a thing in order to feed my family? And I did have one of those gamer moments where I did not think I was going to be able to do it that round, and I was able to, provide enough food for my family, and I felt like a sincere, gratification kind of blew up there. Agricola, again, very quickly, if you do not know, again, farming. And one of the great things about Agricola is it is very thematic as far as the game's concerned. So if you know anything at all about farming, even a small bit, you got to plow the land. You got to plant the seeds. You got to grow the crops. You got to harvest the crops. You have animals on the farm. You have people in the homes that are doing the work. It's a worker placement game. And on top of there's cards. Now, the cards are the drafting mechanic, which really adds the complexity to the game. There's a lot of different decks of cards to add to different versions of the game that you can play. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. It's challenging. It's crunchy. It's a Euro. It's a group, it's a Agricola. So it's a thing. So there's going to be a special edition from Awakened Realms, which means miniatures?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, honestly, even if this was a Euro, a farming Euro that I do like, you turn all those animeeples into miniatures, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
And the thing is about Agricola, everything used to be like discs and, little cubes.
Mm-hmm.
When they did animeeples, I think they might have been the first ones to do that.
I think so, yeah.
And it was revolutionary for the time that you actually had these little meeples that looked like animals on the farm. And the same thing with the vegetables and the plants. They all looked like the actual things, which was brilliant and fun. And it's quintessential Euro gaming. Like, that's a classic kind of experience. And I don't know why we need miniatures here.
I don't either. And you know what? Like, they did the Castles of Burgundy special edition. I got all the stuff. I got the tiles. I got the mat. I did not get the miniatures because I don't want to spend an hour and a half digging through that tray trying to find stuff. And I don't want to have a whole second box full of things. And I don't want to feel obligated to paint them. This is the same problem. Like,
yes.
You're going to have like 100 animal miniatures. I don't know how big they're going to make them, but that's a lot. So many.
Yeah.
And they probably can't be that big unless the board's enormous, right? Because they need to fit inside the squares.
There's a lot of expansions to this. There's a lot of different versions of this. I think the 15-year anniversary edition came out a couple of years back. Weird box, but there is a super deluxe version of this you could pick up.
Right.
if you don't want to pick up all the, the plastic that goes along with this game, and still get a very quality edition. There was also some expansions back in the day that were quite expensive. I think they were like 20 or $25 each, which gave you like each player color was like $25, and you got like miniatures, kind of painted miniatures.
Yeah, of the characters,
of the
right?
family, of that color family, along with a couple of cards. So inevitably, I mean, I guess it's a good deal. I guess back in the day it was expensive, but now it makes a lot of sense.
I mean, we'll see how much it costs.
What do you
they're
think?
saying if they're like all the expansion content, and hopefully they do the same thing they did with Burgundy and Puerto Rico, and the miniatures are separate. Awakened Realms has done that okay. Like, you don't have to get the tiles for Castles of Burgundy, and you didn't have to get the miniatures. Those were things you could buy as separate upgrades.
Nice.
So hopefully they do the same thing here. Like, you just want little wooden discs, we'll hook you up. But if you want the miniatures, give us $100. So,
well, there's another announcement about Agricola, Anthony.
I thought this was a joke. I really did. I thought there were people, but there are no jokes anymore. We live in a post-joke world, if you haven't realized.
Do.
Anytime you hear something, you're like, oh, that's going to be from The Onion. You're like, nah, that's a real thing. That happened.
All right, so let me read you their little kind of flavor text subscription.
Mm-hmm.
You reload your rifle, eyes locked on the approaching horde. They're close. Too close. Yesterday you lost Tom, but there's no time to mourn, only time to fight. Without the harvest, you won't survive the winter. A broken radio crackles from the porch, playing Heaven is a Place on Earth. Ironic. This feels like hell. The undead press forward, ready to trample the sprouting pumpkins. Not today, shamblers. Not today.
You almost made it through it. You almost did it. It was like the gravitas was there, and you get to like sprouting pumpkins.
Sprouting pumpkins.
No,
I was not prepared for sprouting pumpkins. I'll admit that, people.
This is clearly a joke, but they're going to make it, and people will buy it.
Yeah. So the Agricola Dead Harvest reimagines Uwe Rosenberg's iconic farming game in a thrilling post-apocalyptic world overrun by zombies. Farmers must defend their land from the unyielding pest while managing resources to endure. Strategic planning, intense survival mechanics, and relentless undead threats create a unique fusion of farming and horror, offering high replayability and a fresh challenge for both Agricola fans and newcomers. Oh my goodness. I can't get through this without cracking up.
It's so silly.
And they have a miniature of the zombie that's going to be in the game.
I know. It's a little farmer zombie.
It is.
It's cute, but
poor Tom. He didn't make it.
Oh, poor Tom. Yeah,
right?
I put this on the spreadsheet before we even picked. Like, okay, Chris, you have to talk about this. Like, oh yeah, the new Agricola special edition. I'm like, no, there's another one.
And it's modern day. So there's on the cover, which seems very AI generated, along with everything else in the game. It seems like they went with a different take on this.
Yeah, it's not clear how much. Like, obviously, Agricola is like a classic worker placement Euro game. It is Euro-y as Euro, right?
Yeah.
Like, the interaction is blocking each other on these different spaces.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
It's not clear what this will be mechanically. Like, are the zombies an AI-driven mechanism that comes to attack you that you all kind of need to work together to fight off? Is it cooperative? Is it semi-cooperative? Do you each have your own little horde of zombies to fight?
Yeah.
Is it more of an adventure game with Euro elements to it? They haven't really told us any of that yet. But it will be weird, maybe dumb. But good dumb? I don't know.
Australia with a Z.
Yeah.
That was a Cthulhu farming train game.
Yeah.
And that worked, so maybe?
That is true. I had not thought of Australia. When that game was announced and came out, in fact, for about 3 years after that, I was like, that's stupid until I played it. I was like, no, it's actually good. Honestly, I think what it'll come down to is how much is Rosenberg involved here. Because there's a co-designer here, Tomas Savatsky, who designed, I think he's only designed a couple other games. One of them is Stalker, the board game.
Okay.
Which hasn't shipped yet, I don't believe.
I've never heard of this game.
Oh, no, it's an expansion for Stalker. It's not even Stalker.
Oh.
So this is a designer who hasn't really put much out yet. He's just in a couple expansions with Awakened Realms. So we don't know what we're going to get. Like, Uwe Rosenberg's a brilliant designer, but occasionally works with other people maybe they do more of the work and the game's not very good. So
Yeah, he might be taking like executive producer credit on this, but someone
yeah,
else is doing the zombies. Because again, if they have the zombies mechanic in here, it's got to be a different game. It can't be the same Agricola game, especially since this is coming out the year after. So I can't imagine it's Agricola and then you have to do a mini game with zombies. It has to be more incorporated, I'm assuming.
right.
Because again, why would you do that then? It doesn't make sense to make that a separate game. I don't know, people. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to you all. Good luck to you farmers. You don't have enough troubles.
Yeah. I would. The only thing I'll add to this before we move on is there is an expansion for Caverna where there are enemies that attack your farm.
The fiends, right?
Yeah. So it's not the best expansion for Caverna,
It's not.
but it works. It does work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they're working with something like that.
All right. I'm fine with that. It's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's a different thing. Awakening Realms does do a very good job with their miniature games. Like you said, Castles of Burgundy is fantastic. So this is another thing that's happening. So there.
That's true. It is happening. So there.
All right, people. So that's our roll for preview. How about our roll for review, Anthony? What do you have up for us this week?
All right. So I'm going to talk about a game that you and I actually played.
We did.
Back in Jersey about 3-4 weeks ago.
It was Jersey. It's a Jersey thing.
It's a Jersey thing, yeah. And then I got a chance to play it again earlier this week. So it is called Mesos. It's a new one from Cranio Creations. And when I first saw it, I didn't think, I was like, oh, it's just like a quick card game thing. But it's co-designed by Simone Luciani, which, hey, that didn't expect that. But
he's a guy we know.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's good. That's a good game designer.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I was expecting from the game, but it was relatively quick, and fairly accessible and easy to learn. So, to the point where like when the game came out the other night, I was able to like pretty quickly, like 5 minutes, refresh in my mind and then teach it. So it wasn't hard to like get my brain back around it. So the idea here is it's like a prehistoric Neolithic era civilization type game, tableau builder. So you are drafting cards from a central display that you put into your personal tableau, and then those cards will score in various different ways and also generate food for you, which you need to survive. You have to feed your people every round or every time that the event comes up. And it's broken down into these different eras. So each era has like a different stack of cards. They're all stacked together. As they flip out, different things are going to happen. So there's like an event that happens in each era, one of which is like you need to feed people. The interesting thing about the game is like probably the most interesting thing, the main thing to talk about, at least for me, I don't know if it was for you, is the offer track, right?
Sure.
Like the thing in the middle. So it's got this worker placement element. So when you take your turns, you don't just draft, you place your pawn on one of these spaces on the offer track. And that's going to determine where you're pulling your cards from, where you're drafting from that round, and in what order you're drafting. So like if you're on the furthest left, you're drafting one card from the bottom row, right? But that means you're probably going to be first next round. And if you're first, you get like this bonus of food, which is great. If you go to the far right, you could get up to 3 cards, but you're pressing your luck a little bit because there might not be any cards left in the bottom row because it's always less cards, and you're definitely going last. And if you go last, you have to pay food. So it's kind of like this push-pull of like, which cards do I want? Where am I willing to go? How late in the turn order am I willing to go next round? And there's always going to be a certain number of cards in the top row. So you're always going to be able to get something at the top. But the only thing in the bottom is the stuff that did not get picked in the last round of the top. So it kind of cycles through these things. Like, okay, nobody took the artist cards last round. So there's a few artist cards in the bottom row. I can get one of those as long as I go to the third space, which is kind of a cool mechanic. And so it's a lot of balancing that. There's buildings that come out. The buildings are expensive. They cost a lot of food, but they also give you a bunch of abilities and points. There are several different types of cards that you can build into your tableau, depending on what way you want to go. You have hunters, which produce food, which you need. Really all about food. There's shamans that give you points based on who has the most shaman stars. The first time we played, I won. No, I didn't win. Who won that game?
You won by like 2 points or so.
Did I win? Okay.
Yeah,
it was the shamans.
I was winning. I had the collection of all the different items.
Right. Yeah. The inventions.
I had huge stock of all that. Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah, there's that. There's the inventors who can invent all these different things like fire and sticks and tents and whatnot. And you get points for those based on like how many unique ones you have in a set. You've got builders who make buildings cheaper, which is super helpful later on. You have artists who give you points in a scoring card later on. They can also generate food for you if you have certain abilities. You have gatherers who reduce the amount of food that you need to feed your people. So you're kind of collecting these and building out your tableau based on what makes the most sense for you. And then these events will pop up where I think there's 4 of them. One is just to feed everybody. So you need 1 food for every person, and you lose points if you don't have it. One is the hunt, where you get food for all of your hunter symbols. One is the shamanic ritual. You get stars if you have the most stars, and you lose points if you have the least stars. Yeah, which I jumped out on that. That's how I won the game. I just early on, I was like, I have all these stars. Nobody else caught up to me, and then several people had 0 for a while, and they lost points. And then cave paintings, you get points from your artists. So that's pretty much it, right? Like you go through, you're drafting, you're building your tableau, and then you're trying to not go broke from not having enough food, but also generating an engine that gives you points. It's pretty quick. I think the first time we played, you, me, Will, and it took a little longer.
Sure.
Because we were learning the game. But like when I played it earlier this week, it was, I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes. Real fast.
Super quick.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting game. I like it. I don't know how it's really like what comes out. And I know it happened to one person in the game for us earlier this week. It also happened with Will, I know, in our first game, that if you get stuck going last,
yes,
you get stuck going last for a while because nobody's going to voluntarily go to the end of that line. So you either basically give up a round and go to the first spot and draft nothing, or you just continue to go last and take those negative points every single round, which it's not great. Will didn't enjoy it, and my friend did not enjoy it the other day. So I think that's an issue with the game for sure.
Yeah, it was missing the zombie expansion, which
right
seems to be a thing that everything needs to have now. So that, like you said, standard set collection game and scoring cards that come along that kind of boost up certain point combinations. But then, like you mentioned, that middle area where those up and down arrows really is the crux, the uniqueness of this game.
Right.
And that placement of when do you want to get there and why? Because, again, the earlier you go, the more likely you are, not guaranteed, but the more likely you are to get exactly what you want, but less of a thing.
Right.
You go later, you get more of a stuff, but you may not be left with anything at all in some cases. It wasn't even like you weren't left with a good choice. Everything pretty much goes. So you have to be really lucky or, confident that someone's not going to take a certain card set to kind of move you along. So there is some of that chance comes in as far as what cards come out, because if there's a certain scoring card that comes out and there's not any of that type of card, or there's all of that type of card.
Right. Or if the feed your people card comes out before the hunting card comes out.
Yes.
You're like, cool, I don't have any food yet because my hunters haven't been able to do anything yet. Great, I just lost a bunch of points. Oh, great, now I have food. I can't use it.
Yeah, so for a set collection game, this had a lot of press your luck because, again, those scoring cards random. They're not seated in a deck in a particular order. So you have to kind of roll with it. And then there's the builders, which again are like, it's a hit and miss kind of thing because like it makes sense to build the builders so that you can get discounts on the cards, but then again, you may not need those. So
yeah, it depends when the buildings come out, or if other people grab them before you.
Yep.
Maybe someone has a good food engine, they could just buy them straight up.
100%. So I like the speed of play.
Yeah.
I like that middle choice dynamic. But again, you're going to deal with the chance of the cards. And as you mentioned, you're going to get sometimes locked down with the choices.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with all that. I I think the reason, so for me, I think if this game was longer, if it was like a 60 to 90-minute game, I don't think I'd like it as much, because you do get locked in some certain situations and you get locked in some certain decisions. But because it's quick and because everything flows relatively smoothly, like I've always said this, like the shorter the game, the more forgiving I can be of the randomness sometimes.
Sure.
It's like it's like playing a card game. Like, oh, that was just a bad hand.
Yes.
We'll do it again. And this is kind of that. The problem, and it hasn't happened to me yet, so I feel like I'm a little skewed. But
Must be nice.
you know, each time I've played this, someone has gotten put in a bad spot, and I'm like, I feel like that's going to happen to somebody every game, and that's kind of stinky. And it may not. I'm not saying the game is broken, but that has been the experience so far after several plays of like, someone's getting stuck going last, someone is losing a lot of food, someone's not getting the cards they want.
Sure.
It's not a good place to be. I think the solution is basically to skip a turn, but that's not great either.
Sure.
Uh, it's a light play for me. I like it. I don't. I think obviously we've talked about some of the issues that it has, but I think the brevity of it and just the fun of building a tableau with a bunch of different point scoring options is always good. I think it looks cool. I like the artwork on it. And yeah, no, Mesos is an interesting game.
Yeah, I have two thoughts about this. I mean, first off, it's a play for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like you mentioned, Anthony, I think it does play fast enough that it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
It has really kind of fun, unique combinations because the player card that you get to help you along the way offers you a lot of different options for scoring points. So it's not just like this card scores points, this card scores food. There's a lot of ways to score points. And again, based on how those scoring cards come out, again, as fate would have it, it benefits you, it doesn't benefit you, or who knows. I feel like this could have probably, and I understand the middle section is kind of like a board thing, but I feel like this could have been better off in a deck, like a box, like a small, like a deck box, a card game, instead of a board game. Because I feel like there's not enough in a box here. I think it could have been smaller, and I think it would have benefited the game. Because I think when you look at the game, it looks like it's going to be longer and bigger, but it's actually a very quick playing card game. I also think that this is a game that feels a little, I think if this game came out like 10 years ago, it would have been a blockbuster. But it's out there now where a lot of games have done this. But overall, I think if you know what you're getting involved in, and we're telling you this going into it, I think it's a good play game.
Yeah, it's not a game you should avoid necessarily. Like, I think sit down and play it if you like tableau builders, if you like set collection as a mechanic.
Yeah.
It really is mostly set collection, but there is a tableau element to it with the building and how things are chained together for those scoring cards. And if you don't mind the feed your people element, it's pretty strong in this. You have to feed every single card. So later in the game, when you have like 12 or 13 cards in your tableau, you got to feed them all. And that can be very expensive and can cost you a lot of points if you can't feed them.
That's true.
That's the type of game you're getting into. And like I said, every time I played it, somebody's gotten kind of on the short end of the stick. So just level set, right?
Yeah.
But I've had fun with it.
Same. All right. Well, that's our roll for review. Now on to our feature review. So Anthony, of course, we're talking about the hotness of hotness. We're talking about all our friends out there who got into the game, got into the BGA fantasy draft. And this is month number 2, man.
Yeah, we're 2 months in. So yeah, back in January, we set up a draft and we had several people participating. And the result is we have, how many games we got on here? 52 games.
Sure.
That were drafted out by 6 different teams. No, 11 different teams. I don't know why I thought 6. 11 different teams, including us. Woo-hoo! And each of those teams is getting a point every month if any of those games on the list that they chose is on the BGG Hotness in any of the weeks during the month. So every Friday when we log in to record this, I check the list. I give people their points. There's a spreadsheet. You can go check it out if you're interested. And then at the end of the month, we're going to go through it. So that's what we're doing right now.
Very nice.
Yeah. So let's kick it off and look at where the points came from this month and update the standings. So we have at the top of the list Team BGA. Yeah. So we've got 2 games that were on the list this month. First up, Iridia, The Paths We Dare Tread, has been on the list since we started this whole thing. So people love these big boxes.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Yeah. I think it fell off today.
Oh no. Get back on there, man.
No, just kidding. It's number 13. It just fell out of the top 10.
That's close.
My bad. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get a point for March for that too, because we're recording at the end of the month here. So,
nice.
Yeah. And then the other game we chose that is on the list right now is Galactic Cruise, which is currently shipping to people. So a lot of people back that. A lot of buzz around it, so it's up on the list right now.
Is it shipping to us?
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
No. We did not back that, so not so much. But yeah, so those are our 2 points for this month. Tim has one game that popped up on the list this month, the Baghdad, the City of Peace.
Ah, good pull, Tim.
Yeah. So this one actually popped up for like, I don't know how long, because again, I check this once a week, but it was on the list once in January, like at number 45, and it was on the list once in February, like number 47. So not a bad pick. You're getting some points off of that, considering it's, not the hottest game in the world. Dave has Cyclades Legendary Edition.
Nice, Dave. That's my man.
Yeah. So that one popped on the list this month. It's getting ready to go to people, so it's been decently high in the list, 20, 25. And I know we actually just got an email from the publisher about this game going out, so it's hitting tables shortly.
Crunchy.
Yeah. All right, Andrew has I didn't think this one would hop up so early because the game's not coming out till later this year, but Transgalactica. So this is the new T game, but it's from Devere this time.
Because Tim, he's a T guy, so he backed T games.
No, this was Andrew.
Oh, Andrew, even better.
Andrew, yeah, we're off the T's, but back on the T's.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, it's like Board and Dice said, no more T games, and Danielle Tishini said, well, then I'm leaving.
Oh, no.
So he's over with Devere now with this new one, Transgalactica, which looks very pretty, but I'm pretty sure comes out like Gen Con-ish, Essen-ish.
Okay, like it.
So lots and lots of time until this one hits the table, but definitely some buzz coming around. This is one of the ones that I was personally more excited about at the beginning of the year, and I think just more information. It probably hit during Gamma, so people finally got to look at it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, looking good though. Looking good. All right, and then the one more person here had some points this month. Ryan D. The Elder Scrolls: Betrayal of the Second Era, still on the list.
Okay, nice.
Not going away.
It's asleep. It's there. You can't move.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this thing around yet. It's got enough ratings. I know people have it. It's got like a 9.2 on Board Game Geek, which is crazy. Whoa. It's chip theory games.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
People are excited about it. And it's also Elder Scrolls, which is one of the more popular video game franchises out there. So
yeah, this one could stick around for a while. We might see this as a big performer by the end.
I would not be surprised if they got points every month for this game.
Oof.
Like legit, because it's not just popular. Like the way the hotness works, it's not just like, oh, people are looking at the page. It's like people are commenting on threads on that page.
Yes.
And this type of game with like all the elements to it, because there's campaigns and there's components and it's expensive. There's 621 threads in the forums.
Whoa.
So people are having a lot of conversations about this game, and it's only been out for a little bit, like a month or two. So not surprised. All right. And then the last one from Ryan, which was a great pick. Like in the comments when he picked this game, everybody's like, "Oh, you got it." It was Vantage.
Oh, sure. Makes sense.
So yeah, Jamie Stegmaier's new game, and Stegmaier's first design of his own. think since Tapestry, right?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so like the last few games from Stonemaier have been other designers, naturally.
And it's not a Wingspan game either. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, Expeditions. I'm sorry, he did Expeditions. But um yeah, Vantage is what is this? What are they calling this? Like open world exploration or something?
something like that. Yeah.
What is the vibe on this thing?
Did he even do Expeditions, or is that one of those things like we just talked about before, where he just signed his name on it because he did Scythe?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because
It's
it's
it
not
just
it's not a Scythe game. It's a different game.
it's a different game. Yeah, it's not very good actually. I don't like this game. Um, it doesn't have another designer listed,
Okay.
but it certainly feels underbaked.
All right. That happens.
Yeah, but Vantage is open world cooperative adventure game, so it's one of those.
There's a lot of buzz about that. There's just been
Yeah,
a lot of conversations. Makes sense.
yeah, it's just a funny genre to go into because there's like a million of these on Kickstarter, but obviously it's going to be different coming from Stonemaier, and I doubt it's going to be like a big miniatures game. So,
Sure.
I am interested to see what he does with it.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I would see this one probably on the list for the rest of the year too. I wouldn't be
Whoa.
surprised, like because it's like combining two things that people are crazy about, right? You've got Stonemaier games, and then you've got open world exploration game, which could be hundreds of hours of gameplay. Um, as usual, it plays like 1 to 6, which is crazy.
That always ends well.
Yeah, all of his games are like you could play with like 83 people, like or 3. I think it's best at 3.
Plays great at every player count.
Uh huh. But yeah, this is coming out soon, later this year.
It doesn't have zombies though.
It doesn't.
It might be the fatal flaw about this.
Well,
game.
we don't know that actually because
it's true.
They've released very little information so far.
Oh no, we told him to put zombies in it now.
Yeah, because it's not Earth, right? You're like it's a sci-fi game. You're like exploring out in space, and you crash land on a planet, so it could be anything.
Sure. Yeah,
maybe like silicon-based zombies. Who knows?
I want him to land in one of his other games. I think that's just the point of this.
I would not be surprised if that happened.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
A lot of the games in that Stonemaier catalog are getting very meta these days.
Mm-hmm.
Just play Rolling Realms. It's got all of them in there.
They're all there, people.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go with all the points. And so where we're at right now is we have Team BGA. That's us. Right here. We have 3 points.
Okay. Don't feel so great about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, 3. I mean, we're in first place. So
all right.
Ryan D also has 3 points.
All right. See.
Yeah, we're tied. Tim has 2 points.
All right, Tim.
Dave has 1 point.
Okay, Dave.
And Andrew has 1 point.
All right, so we take an early lead.
We do.
But
yes.
Will we keep it?
That's the question. Iridia is like weirdly persistent on this list.
And it is one of those campaign games where people will probably come back to it multiple times.
Yeah, it's not surprising. And it's, the Zaya guy, which people are obsessed with his games. So,
and you picked it.
I did.
You picked the Zaya game.
Yeah, I didn't say I want to play it.
You, of all people on this planet, picked the Zaya game.
Yeah, because enough people in life have tried to make me play Zaya that I know people love these things.
All right, so you went against your personal preference, and you picked for the team, man. All right, I appreciate
this
that.
Game that I hate that I've played like 4 times because people are like, we have to play Zaya. No, you just had a bad experience. Try again. I'm like, okay, I guess nope, still terrible.
So if you ever meet Anthony out in the real world,
don't do it.
Make him play Zaya, people. Just carry it around with you and just try to find Anthony Chatfield and be like, hey, Zaya.
I don't like what you're doing right now.
Look, the fans need to play Zaya with you. Accept their love.
Yeah. Hey, I bet some of you would have a lot of fun watching me lose my mind. So
there you go. That could be a Patreon exclusive.
It's like 4 hours long. It's a slow descent to madness. Because the first hour, I'm always like, okay, I'm building a ship. I'm exploring.
Yeah.
This could be fun. And I'm stuck in a corner somewhere.
Hey.
And I can't move. And my only solution is to run into that star. And I blew up. And I'm back where I was. And I have no points. And you're having fun. That's cool. I'm glad you're having fun.
Yeah, who won that game again?
Yeah, I black it out, man. It's a bad game.
I won the game.
You did win the game. You
I
won the
did.
worst thing. Good for you. Oh, man.
This is Anthony's least favorite episode. We're talking about Agricola and Zaya.
I know. What happened? I want to talk about good games.
They are good games.
I want to talk about games I like.
All right. That's a different podcast completely, my friend. Can't help you with that.
Yeah. Although, who knows? Maybe the listeners are like, no, talk about games you hate. It's funnier.
Is it?
I don't know. Some people, like, we get comments from people who are like, you guys should burn more things. It's funny.
It's like Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
They love to see you suffer, man.
I guess. All right. Well, I do it for all of you. I hope you appreciate it.
You're the Bert and Ernie of this podcast, man.
You're Bert and Ernie.
You're the Bert. I'm the Ernie. So
yeah, I buy it.
There you go.
Oh, man. Zaya.
Zaya.
I'm going to play Iridia someday and be like, this is brilliant. And you're not going to believe me.
The funniest thing is one of the best pictures I have of you and I playing a board game was Zaya of all games.
Well, again, like the first hour was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah. It was like hour 4 where I'm like, why are we still playing this game? I've already blown up twice. Can I go home yet?
No. I like the fact that game has the whole you can blow up and come back mechanic because they know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I remember they explained the rules. And like, oh, yeah, and you can blow up. That's fine. You just come back as another ship and it's cool. And you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Huh. So that's a main mechanic. Huh. Oh, that sounds bad.
I don't think I've ever played a game before where I wanted there to be player elimination.
Sure. You
wanted
to
I
be
would have been
eliminated.
done. I would have been done 3 hours ago. I blew up twice already. Okay.
Good times.
Enough bashing on a game that I know a lot of you like. It's a me problem, I swear. All right, so the rest of the list, because that's all the stuff that we got points for this month.
Yes.
There is a bunch of new games on here, though.
Burn the list, man. Keep going.
Let's do it. Moon Colony Bloodbath.
What?
This ridiculously named game from Rio Grande Games is apparently very good. So,
how is that possible?
I don't know. It's number 2 on the hotness. It's Donald X Vaccarino, right? So it's got the pedigree. It's Dominion guy making a game.
He does know his card games.
Yeah, it's an engine building, engine losing tableau game. So it's like this combination where you're like building and disassembling engines.
Sure.
I always love that idea. It's often overcomplicated, but I feel like Vaccarino, probably it's not overcomplicated. The weight is 2.1. It's a 90-minute game. People seem to be digging it. It's sold out everywhere. So, yeah.
It's got a really interesting artwork, kind of like throwback, retro sci-fi space kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought you'd dig that.
I dig it. Yeah.
Like the outer space stuff. Yeah. No, it's cool. I would like to play it. I haven't seen it anywhere, but once I do.
It does not look like a real game. It looks like a joke game. At least
it does.
The box cover, at least.
We saw a copy of this when we were at Level Up,
and
I guess we should have played it because apparently it's good.
It turns out it's a real game.
Yeah. All right. We also have Katmai, the Bears of Brooks River.
Okay.
That sounds exciting, doesn't it?
It's not Finspan, or I guess it's the dangerous version of Finspan.
It's a 2-player card game where you're controlling and planning very hungry bears
to eat fish.
Yes.
I like it.
So it's bears fighting over fishing spots in the river.
Sure, why not? It looks really cool. It's a nice job. They did a great job in the production.
It does look cool. And like the map, and you have like the little bear meeples moving along the river. And cards are very pretty.
It looks like a real game, unlike the other game.
It does look like a real game. Somebody actually made this. That's funny. All right. Lost Ruins of Arnak Adventure Chest.
Yeah, I saw this and I was like, Anthony needs to know about this immediately.
I am on the mailing list. I saw it and I was like, yes, please, and thank you.
And basically, this is a big box plus a couple of other things?
It's a big box with trays and stuff, and there's an expansion.
Okay.
So, and they say you'll be able to buy the expansion separately if you don't want the big box. Which is great.
CGE, you're such good people. We appreciate it.
I know, and it's not going to be stupidly expensive because it's CGE.
I love that about them. I love when a game's not stupidly expensive.
I was actually just playing Arnak the other night, and you can't fit all the content in the box. So I have the 2 expansion boxes are separate.
Sure.
Because those expansions are full of stuff. They're not like they give you that box, the expansion box, and often you get those expansion boxes and they're like 5 cards in the corner of it.
Yeah.
Like legit full with all the player boards and extra stuff and new boards and maps. And so then when they're like, yeah, we're going to give you, a full box and it's got trays and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is one of the few games. I don't have many. There's one of the few where I could actually use one of these big boxes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
I 100% agree. The expansions for Lost Ruins of Arnak is the best value for expansions I've ever seen in a game.
So good.
Both expansions are phenomenal. And even I think they had a free expansion that you could print and play back in the day during the pandemic, which was
the solo
excellent.
campaign. Yeah, the first campaign.
Which was fantastic of them. But both those, the boxes were super heavy. You get like either one, you get a ton of different people to play with, or the other one, you get like these really cool adventures, which is great.
Yeah. No, it's so cool. And so, yeah, the new expansion, Twisted Paths, is going to have a new map, double-sided map. So, like, the whole map is new. You're going to have new research tracks, new mechanisms within that, a bunch of new guardians, sites, assistants, new solo content. So, I'm excited. I like this game. Again, just played it the other night. So, looking forward to this.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, we'll do a more formal roll for preview on that once we know more.
Yep.
Nancy Narking. So, we had Agricola gets zombies.
Yes.
And now we get Nancy Narking, which is like Victorian England, gets Cthulhu.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. I guess this one makes a little more sense because Martin Wallace and he's already done a Cthulhu thing.
Yeah.
So why not? But also, really?
Yeah, and primarily it's because of the miniatures. This is Phalanx.
Okay.
And they're all about their miniatures. And this game has gigantic Cthulhu Elder Gods miniatures just trashing stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's a thing.
Yeah, Nancy Narking it's a fine game. It's not one of my favorite Martin Wallace games. But they're updating it and they're adding this stuff. And I don't know. I'm not going to play this, but I'm sure it's good. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to put it down because again, Australia ended up being amazing, and I have it with both expansions, and I love that game.
I told you.
Yep, it's good. Every time I look at it on my shelf, I'm like, I can't believe I own this.
It's ridiculous, but it's fantastic.
It's really good. All right, moving down the list here, we have Toledo, Prospect for Silver.
Uh-huh.
We played this a couple years ago. Simone Luciani and Daniele Ticini working together in Toledo, which was a perfectly fine game that we both liked well enough.
Despite everything else.
It was that tail end of the T games where
Yes.
there's like another one before they kind of rebooted and we got like more colorful, interesting things from Board and Dice.
Yes.
But expansion's good because the game did feel samey after like 3 plays.
It did. Sure.
So that's good. More content there.
Mm-hmm.
We have, scrolling down the list here, a bunch of other stuff that we've already talked about. Ostia, I know, is a game that has been hot lately, probably because I'm Board Game Geek. Or not Board Game Geek, Board Game Arena. People have been talking about it a lot. So it's been on the hotness for the last few weeks. But it's a Euro game about moving like a large fleet around. So ocean trade, ports and stuff. It's interesting if you haven't played it yet on Board Game Arena.
Sure.
Tiny Epic Dungeons Adventures.
Why not? We're here.
Are you excited?
Historically, no.
Yeah. Same.
But I'm always open to an epic tiny adventure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's been like, how many of these? Like 20?
Oof. That's hard to say. They've been more misses than hits.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because there's been at least 2 or 3 that I really liked. Tiny Epic Galaxy was really good. I liked Tiny Epic Quest. It was like Zelda in a box. I think that's it. That might be it.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate them for trying to fit everything in such a small box. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's on Kickstarter right now. That's why it's up there. Star Trek Captain's Chair.
Yeah, baby.
You
really complicated card game.
Yeah, it is. It's Imperium, but with Star Trek.
Sure.
And Imperium has some of the dumbest, worst written rules I've ever seen in my life. I've tried to get through those rules like 3 times. I mean, I've gotten through them eventually. The game is not that complicated, but the rules are terrible.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of information about this, a lot of videos about it. I want to get this because you can play it solo, and I think that's the way to play it because it really is cumbersome as far as laying everything out and playing things through. But it yeah, again, like you mentioned, it seemed a little cumbersome. But I do want to play it at some point.
Yeah, same. All right, Dragon Eclipse and This War of Mine are both on here as well because Awakened Realms announced sequels and revisits to both of them. So nothing too exciting there. Those are coming like later this year, next year. But
Sure.
Awakened Realms had their big thing, so people will be talking about stuff.
Miniatures, baby, miniatures.
Miniatures all day long. So there you have it, folks. Those are the new games on the list. A bunch of stuff that you're all familiar with as well, like SETI's up there. We got Galactic Cruise we already talked about, Lost Ruins of Arnak, so on and so forth.
A lot of cool stuff. Check it out. The hotness is always hot. And again, thanks to all of our draft people. Hopefully they will burn up the draft in the next upcoming weeks. But until next time, this is Chris.
Hey, and this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat at the table. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons & Dragonfruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.